Hey everyone, and welcome to Mayfield and Friends, episode 28. Today I have on the cast Agile Tom. Tom, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us what kind of account/accounts you play, and tell us anything else you want to say in the beginning.
Hey everybody, I'm Agile Tom, or you can just call me Tom. I play two accounts at the moment. One's a main Iron Man focusing on collection log. The other is one chunk account, extreme one chunk account starting at the Chambers of Zarek.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, of course, people mostly know you probably most recently from the Cox chunk, just because of how egregious that grind is.
Yes, definitely.
So what I'm sure a lot of the big extreme one chunk content creators kind of inspired you to do your own thing, but what inspired you specifically to start at the Chambers of Zarek?
Yeah, so I had watched like a lot of chunk series, Limpwort and Verf specifically, and Verf's chunk really kind of gave me motivation to pick something that was difficult. With how long he was in his chunk, I kind of wanted something like that as well, where straight out of the gate I had like a huge grind to go for and something that nobody's seen before. And basically, I was working a job, and one day I just had a lot of free time, so I kept seeing what was possible. And when I got to the Cox chunk, it kind of just flowed really well. Thinking about the early game and how that would lead up to mid game, and I would research stuff on the wiki and be like, what items can I get? What sort of gear upgrades? Is it possible to train certain skills? Like range, I didn't even know if I would be able to train range right away. And that's obviously an important skill when you have a twisted bow in your chunk. So everything kind of fell into place, and I was like this is a possible chunk, and probably the hardest one that would be possible to complete absolutely everything in it. And I just got like really sucked into it and really motivated to go for it. So that's kind of the backstory behind it.
Fantastic. And I know with your main iron, for those who don't know, Tom is doing a collection log series. We were talking about that a little bit before, and how kind of interesting the name was because he's going for some of the more wild stuff. So I actually had a question specifically for you, and that was, does the grind of 2K CM cape on two different accounts kind of seem like too much, or because you kind of leech the other account most of the time, is it pretty passive on the second account at least?
Well, one of the main points that I wanted to make the chunk count for was that I could just AFK it while we did raids on my main iron. Um, I honestly don't enjoy doing it that way. I'd rather just do one account at a time, which soon we will stop doing the leeches and I'll actually be able to do the raid on the chunk count.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be nice, be more interesting for me that way. The main iron will not like just sit and do nothing. Like I'm gonna keep playing that account. It might not be doing CMs for a while just because I mean if I'm not doing CMs on the chunk count, I'll probably feel like doing something else. So um, that will be just put off on the main account until later down the line to keep doing CMs. It obviously still needs a lot of items there as well. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I'm excited for doing real CMs on the chunk account very soon.
That's pretty exciting. So when you initially started, did you kind of have a timeline for how long you thought it would take you to get to being able to do the raids instead of just leeching on the chunk account, or were you kind of just like, it'll happen when it happens?
Yeah, I kind of thought it would take a lot longer than it has actually to be able to actually do the raids on the chunk count. Um, it's been like a lot of theory crafting on what exactly I should require myself to get beforehand because I like to knock out a lot of the long tedious grinds first. And if there's like an item I can get to help out with the raids beforehand, I'm kind of more interested to get that. Like recently, I've been training range on the account, and I'm using a U longbow, which like I've never used a longbow for training on this game before. It's only because I'm restricted now that I've been using it, and it's so ungodly slow that it's kind of giving me the motivation to fletch my own magic short bow before I go into the raid, because obviously it's more accurate and it's a lot faster too. So yeah, little upgrades here and there will definitely make the grind a lot easier.
Awesome. And another big thing I think some people don't think about with accounts like so restricted like that is when you get even like a plus 10 extra boost, like I know for a lot of low mid game irons, like the MSB it's great, you just do hard clues for it, right? But
Mhm.
on an account like yours, how much better does it feel to like craft it yourself after cutting normal trees and then cutting regular longbows and finally seeing the 80 fletching and being like, I can finally do this. It took so long, but it was like, and then you have it in your hands.
Yeah, so I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'm sure it'll be a satisfying moment with how long this fletching grind's taken. And without like any progression in fletching, like it's literally been the same XP since I reached level 10. Um, so I'm sure it'll be a big accomplishment, but it kind of brings me back to when I first started my Iron Man account, and like every small accomplishment felt like a big achievement. So it's kind of back to that again, which is a really good feeling.
Awesome. So you're working on that stuff on the Chunk account. What is the current goal on the main collection log iron? I know you have, what is it like? You have over 1,000 slots. Or is it over 1,100 now?
I just reached 1100 recently, so
Fantastic.
not bad
So
milestone.
what have been some of your like favorite grinds? What have been some of the like least favorite? And what have you like, what are you dreading moving forward? Or
Hmm.
like, and what you're excited about moving forward, I guess too.
Yeah, so I started off the collection log series like with some goals in mind, and each video at the start kind of had like its own item I was going for or goal to achieve in it. The first episode obviously was the Boa Ferdinand, and that took me a long time. I took me over 1500 KC to get that. So like as the first grind of the series, I just wanted to finish that because it's obviously such a big item. Um, and then like Infernal Cape, and then um, other things like that were big upgrades that I knew would help me down the line with other content. And now, mainly what I'm going for is I'm saving up caskets for some big openings. Mostly because I enjoy that kind of video myself. Like I love casket openings. Any video with casket openings, I'll probably watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm saving up for 1,000 hard clues. I just got the new bow from Muspot. Let me take a look. I forgot the name already. Vanderbow, yeah. So I've been killing some jellies whenever I need some decent AFK, and doing hard clues on that account, stacking them up. So I'll probably have one big video just on the hard clues.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong. I watch quite a bit of RuneScape YouTube. You
Mhm.
were the one that got hacked and lost two T-bows, right?
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
Um,
Okay,
no, I could think of a few people who that happened to be honest.
because I know there's another collection logger I watch. I cannot remember the name for the life of me right now. I don't know why I thought it was you. Maybe it's because you were doing all the chambers. Um, but I know
Hmm.
there was a guy, he got hacked, lost two T-bows, had to go back and get a Bofa to do raids again to try and get his T-bow back.
Oh, that might have been Friend.
That was, yes, that's who it
Yeah,
was. That's who it was.
yeah,
Um,
he's a friend of mine. But yeah, he's got a great collection log series, and he's top page collection log. I think overall collection log even he's top page, but definitely for Iron Man he is. He's definitely a grinder. Um, Great PVMer, very talented. So Yeah, if anyone wanted to check him out, um, his series is a big rebuild too. If you watch from the beginning, from being hacked and all that.
Definitely. And so, looking towards the future of the collection log grinds, what is something you're excited to go for, like, actively while you're AFKing the Chunk account?
Yeah, so actively going forward is probably just like raids. I have a lot of friends who have Iron Man and PVMing, and um, Theater of Blood is probably one of my favorite pieces of content in the game. So doing more Theater of Blood, getting into hard modes, which I haven't done too many of those yet, and QA as well. I still need full Masori there, so um, I want to save like those capes for just raiding with the boys. Honestly, that's some of the most fun I have in the game still.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything like looking into the far future, any logs you're kind of dreading doing just because either they're slow or they're just so AFK?
There's not too much that I dread really. I kind of enjoy, or I find a way to enjoy pretty much any content in the game. That's kind of why I chose collection log. Like, there's nothing I'd never do, like ever. I would never say that. I would never do it. One thing I don't typically enjoy, I guess, would be like the Eternal Glory. Um, just uncharging them. Like, possibly they'll add an update to where you can uncharge glories faster with an NPC or paying a little bit of gold or something. I think that'd be a nice update for Iron Man. But typically, I just use a glory charge every time I do a clue, and that stacks up for a while. And then I just go to a place to recharge them whenever I get kind of low. But yeah, knocking that out is a pretty big item too. So helpful for clue scrolls, which I obviously love doing clue scrolls. So
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So let's turn back the clock a little bit. What
Mhm.
is your history playing RuneScape? When did you start? When did you get into old school? Like what's the timeline we're looking at for Tom and his existence in the world of Gillenor?
Yeah, so I started in 2006. Um, got introduced by one of my dad's coworkers' kids, and he was younger than me at the time, and we were both like lower than the age limit to play the game. So I was a little skeptical because I was typically a pretty good kid, but I was like just instantly hooked by the game. Um, we didn't see each other very often, so he showed me the game, and then I played for a while, and then like a couple months later, we saw each other again, and he's like, how's the progress going? Well, I got 60 attack with one strength, one defense because I didn't know how to change my style, so I thought it was a pretty funny thing. But yeah, he bought me membership and gave me like a dragon longsword to use and stuff like that, and really got me into the game a lot more that way as well. But yeah, I was like instantly hooked for sure. Played most of my childhood, probably took a few breaks here and there. Went to school with a few people who played as well, so bonded that way. And when Old School came out, I was playing. I played like the first day. I was actually trying to race for the first person to 99 Hunter back in the day, and I stopped about 95 is when somebody actually got 99 Hunter. So stopped playing for a while, played R3 again for a bit, and then played my main for a lot of big updates like Chambers um, coming into the game, uh, Theater of Blood. I actually started streaming for a bit when Theater of Blood was new. I was in a team that like kept getting so close to completing and would like wipe at the end, but we'd like go right back in. Finally got like a few completions under our belt, and then Iron Man mode came out, and decided to give that a shot while I was maxing my main account. And yeah, once I maxed the main, I didn't play that account as much anymore, and kind of went full throttle on the Iron Man. So I was the leader of a couple clans for a little while as well. So have that kind of history there. A lot of friends from that still play, or they'll get on every once in a while. And yeah, now just kind of chilling in a clan. Uh, and I still have like a core group of friends from back in those days that we just chill in a Discord most of the time. And yeah, pretty much never took a break longer than like 4 months, to be honest.
So you've been fairly consistent with it since, God, it's been what at this point, 2006 to 2023. That is 17 years.
Yeah, yeah, around that. Yeah, pretty consistent with it, and I feel like I have a pretty good balance um, with life and RuneScape. Only like a few times have I really gone extremely degen and not really like talked to anyone for a while to play, but yeah, most of the time, pretty good balance.
Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. It's a great history. It's always awesome to hear about how other people started, like when they started. Because I know I started a very similar time as you did.
Mhm.
Um, the first big update I ever remember in the game is when Hunter came out. That's like the first, that's like my first core RuneScape memory.
Yeah, yeah, I was pretty oblivious to anything going on when I was first playing, but I guess like about the time I first got membership is when God Wars came out. So, um, but I had like no idea what was going on with that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's weird to look back and see like how oblivious we were, but like having so
Mm.
much fun.
Exactly, yeah, it was a different time, and I had friends who even back then were maxed and who were doing the highest level PVM and kind of being efficient is kind of like the first um interest I got in that. But they would like have me tank God Wars bosses for them and stuff, and I was like totally cool with it. Um, Made some money with that back in the day, so that was fun.
Awesome. So a lot of big current event items are happening in RuneScape with the polling of certain things passing, and then of course the ever-present thing on everybody's mind, and that is sailing.
Hmm.
So I want to save sailing for a little bit later. So
Sure.
I want to ask you something that's kind of relevant to you right now, and that is the kind of what they've pulled and talked about with the Chambers of Xeric tokens, being able to choose your own layout.
Mm.
Is that
Yeah.
some is that something you ever wanted to see come out, being able to choose your own layout, whether you're paying a currency for it or you just can? Or do you enjoy the random generated aspect of doing Chambers of Xeric?
Yeah, so I think me and my friends have like talked about this sort of scenario like a long time ago as something that they could do. Not like the exact concept, but I think it's a good quality of life. And Chambers of Xeric came out so long ago that it's kind of like an obsolete kind of thing, having to scout for your raid, just kind of like a time sink. And now that we have challenge mode where it's every single room in a specific order that's the same every time, I've grown to like that a lot more. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty happy with it. Um, I feel like they should keep the aspect where you can just randomly generate a raid if you'd like. And then, yeah, maybe these tokens, if you've completed a lot of raids, you can use them. And I feel like that'll be ultimately better for the game to have the option to choose your own raid. A lot of people are doing it anyway by the means of discords, and unfortunately, like a lot of people bought raid scouting and sell it um, for IRL money, so it would take that out of the equation as well. So I think ultimately it'll be a good update for the game. As far as the chunk count, it's more just like quality of life. If I do like um, mega scaled raids, it requires a certain specific scale to complete. And that can take hours and hours of scouting on multiple accounts to find one. So I don't have to buy it. So ultimately, it's just like quality of life. So good update, in my opinion.
Awesome. And then I kind of want to, before we talk about future updates and things coming out, I kind of want to turn back the clock one more time.
Mm-hmm.
In your history of old school RuneScape, minus the Iron Man mode and minus the collection log, what would you say is your favorite update that has come to the game?
Yeah. Favorite update. It would probably have to be Theater of Blood. I had never gone into content that I couldn't do for like weeks. Um, it made me think about the game differently. It made me want to learn more about the game. Um, that and Inferno. I struggled with Inferno for a very long time as well. Um, I have a hard time, or I used to have a hard time, like sticking to one activity. So I'd like go in for a couple Inferno runs, get discouraged, and like do something else. So I never like truly learned it um, for a while. I think I got my first cape in 2020, I think, or no, 2021, and then got the first one on the Iron Man in 2022. So, but yeah, Theater of Blood and Inferno, I think like those kinds of updates where they really challenge people are great for the game as a whole. Even though most people won't be able to do it, it always gives somebody like something to strive for. And I hope that they continue to put updates that are challenging into the game, as well as like some mid-level or low-level things to get people interested in the game as well. But for me, Theater of Blood was like a big turning point where I actually wanted to get better at the game.
Awesome. And speaking of mid-level content, what do you think about the new Glowfree? I think it's Path of Glowfree, right?
Yeah.
New quest, new mid-level Slayer monster that gives us kind of like a Iban's and Trident mid, like the middle ground between those two items before you're hitting. Was it 87 Slayer for Kraken?
Mhm.
What's your opinion on that? Did you think that was a good update for mid game, or do you think it was kind of unnecessary?
Yeah, so it's a decent quest, and I like that they're putting in like specific lore that people enjoyed from RS2. And but the staff itself probably fits a certain niche of new accounts. I'm sure people could like rush chambers earlier. It is 4 tick, right? 4 tick weapon.
I do not know.
If it's a 4 tick weapon, then it'll be like insanely good for chambers early on. People won't have to go to 87 Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think it's a good update, and continuing to fill certain niches like that is probably good than just putting in end game level items all the time, which would increase power creep. So ultimately, a pretty good weapon design and pretty decent quest as well.
So we've talked a little bit about the good. Now, looking back in the years, is there an update that's come out that you're like, this should never have entered the game, and you can't say forestry because everybody says forestry.
Yeah, forestry is definitely a controversial kind of update. Um, so there's some things that I don't want put in the game that might get put into the game, and then ultimately you get used to it, and the game still goes on, and sometimes you even learn to kind of like the content. So I don't think that there's anything specifically that now I would say was a bad idea, but there were sure a few things because I was pretty conservative with what updates they put into the game at first because I was kind of like a just leave the game how it is kind of person when old school first came out. But um, ultimately, updates are always good for the game. I don't want them to go like overboard with updates all the time, but obviously new things need to come into the game for people to be interested. So there's nothing in particular that I would say like ruined the game or anything for me. And a lot of things that were maybe a big deal, Jagex had realized that and kind of fixed certain things. So um, there's nothing right now that I said that I would say is in the game that I don't like. Um, but one like topic I know a lot of people talk about that I'm not looking forward to them putting into the game or polling would be like stackable clues. Not a big fan of those. I think clues being a distraction, diversion, or is like a good thing. That's what they're meant to be, right? And you kind of gotta be good at like leaving what you're doing to go do a clue scroll, or just leave it for the end, or just don't do the clue scroll if you don't enjoy leaving the content and doing clue scrolls. But someone who does enjoy clue scrolls will like leave the content no problem to do them, and try to get better at rearranging their time and what they're doing to make that a part of the Slayer task if you're doing Slayer, just to do clues in between. One thing I'd be okay with is like stackable master clues, but I think it's kind of a slippery slope. Once they put that into the game, people will just want more and more. So kind of against it. I think it's better how it is.
Most people have like a big thing they didn't really care for or didn't want to see into the game that did end up entering the game. I think it's a very refreshing perspective. A lot of people have a mindset that, I don't like it, so it shouldn't make it, and I'm going to, whatever it may be, the people who tweet at Mod Ash or the Redditors or whatever you want. So I think it's a very refreshing take that, came into the game. Maybe it wasn't great at first, but it kind of grew on me. I think that's I think a lot of people can take a lot of sentiment from that. Not obviously not for everything. Everybody's able to have their own opinions on things, but I think it's very refreshing of me to say that.
Yeah, I feel like I can see a lot of people's perspective on why they wouldn't like certain updates. Um, but yeah, I feel like if you love the game, you're gonna have to deal with a few things and try out whatever content, even if you're not all that happy about it, and maybe you'll end up liking it.
Absolutely. So now we're looking at some of the next big things before sailing. That is the peninsula of Varlamore with the Hunter Guild.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the Hunter Guild, are you excited to see a third hunter pet?
Yeah, I think it's hunter's kind of a unique skill where they have two pets that you have to do specific activities for. So them putting like another pet in for a different activity, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. It's just another pet to go for. A lot of like pet hunters complained about new pets coming into the game, but like that should be like a reason why you love pet hunting, because there keeps being more of them and you gotta keep up with it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it'll be good content, kind of like a Slayer thing for Hunter, where you're given like a task to hunt a certain amount of creatures till you find was it like find like a rare part or something that you turn in.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's something like that. Yeah.
Good concept, and Hunter's always been one of my favorite skills. So um, most of the updates look pretty good. I mean, the buffs from moss or butterflies might be like the only thing I'd be worried about. Hopefully, if it is in the game, it's balanced. If they scrap the whole idea, I probably wouldn't be that mad about it though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I think 100 guilds been kind of like a long time coming, and like they're right to assume that a lot of hunter things are dead content. Nobody ever does them, so having these contracts that you do seems like a good way to revive certain pieces of content, or making like certain meats from hunter things useful, certain pelts, maybe adding a few new creatures and maybe places that are a bit dead would liven that up as well. So overall, probably a benefit for the game.
Awesome. And with the move they're making towards giving a lot of skills guilds, do you think that some of the skills that are missing those should have something of that nature? Like, I think like thieving, rune crafting. What else we got here? There's no fletching guild. I don't know if there needs to be a fletching guild. Uh,
Yeah, maybe some skills don't necessarily need it, but yeah, I could see like a thieving guild one day. I think that'd be pretty cool. Just a bunch of like bandits and crooks that you gotta like um talk to and interact with would be kind of cool. Rune crafting, we have a mini game for rune crafting. I think that's a pretty big deal, and a lot of people like the updates. So I'm not sure rune crafting needs anything quite yet, but yeah, I mean, you could potentially make a guild for every single skill eventually. I don't think they'll put them all in right at once, but maybe across time we'll have certain guilds.
so you kind of mentioned runecrafting with Guardians of the Rift was in a good place. What did you think about it as an Iron Man about the Scar Essence mine?
Um, I'm not sure how it works exactly. I haven't tried it. Um, but it looks like it still costs like a lot. And one thing I do feel is kind of out of place is the fact that we have Iron Man mode and it's like kind of been normalized to update certain things based on what Iron Man need when Iron Man was created just to be doing the normal game except by yourself. So kind of updates that a main would like never do this content. So it doesn't really make sense to cater around Iron Man for those specific reasons. I mean, blood runes had always been a problem, but I'm the kind of person where I don't mind taking a break from PVM to craft some runes. Um, Buying from shops is obviously an issue in the Iron Man community.
Mm-hmm.
So like having another option is okay, but I really don't think it's gonna completely stop shopscapes. So I'm not sure if it really was the best choice for them to do that, but I also haven't tried the content yet, so I can't really say too much about it.
Fair enough. Is there anything? Whoa, my brain just emptied.
Mhm.
um, with the peninsula of Varlamore entering the game, we've seen a multitude of expansions and revisions of the continent of Zaya.
Mhm.
So I wanted to have a little bit of conversation about that, about them adding this whole new area, and obviously this will then tie into what we're going to see with sailing.
Yeah.
When Zaya came out, it was pretty barren. It was very large. A lot of the houses were not really like totally ready to see the light of day. And then obviously in the beginning they had um the moment where you couldn't have multiple favor, multiple houses, and obviously
Mhm.
a lot of quality of life changes have come to Zaya since the release.
Yeah.
Does that initial release or launch of Zaya give you any kind of hesitation about them, expanding the world in such a great way, thinking about how they could have such good intentions for it, but then it comes out and it's all very barren minus a few like very small places you will only ever see people at?
Yeah, so I'm not really too worried. It's obviously like a completely different team now than when Zaya first came out.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like they had a lot smaller of a team and couldn't really accomplish as much. It was probably too big of a project for them to work on at the time. I'm sure if like they released Zaya how it is now back then, it would have been overwhelming how many things are in it. So I feel like they've been doing a good job about like putting content here, putting content other places as well, like not just always putting things on Zaya to make it relevant.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not really too worried. They already have some great ideas. I think like the Coliseum thing that they have is a pretty good idea. They're gonna offer some quests in that area. Zaya was like void of quests and like exploration of the area. Like quests are definitely a great way to see a new area for the first time. So I'm excited for that. And like sailing as a whole too, there'll be so many more new areas to explore. Definitely those kinds of things get me excited for sure.
So before we dive, quote unquote, into the sailing topic, there was one more small thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, and that was the Jagex look back at different pieces of content they've released over the years, and then revitalizing or revamping them as time has gone on. Of course, we already talked about the tokens for chambers, and then of course, just other updates they have like left in the game for a certain period of time, and then whether it be riot ensuing or whether it be just lack of people doing the content, they go back and do some stuff to it. What are some things you'd like to see them revisit, or what are some things that you think are in a really good place and they don't ever need to touch?
Yeah, so it's funny, like when I first made the chunk count, I was very much hoping that they wouldn't change anything in the area
Mm-hmm.
because obviously like I wanted it done. I had a vision for it. One thing that got me worried when they did the summer summit was that they were talking about maybe some potential chambers changes in the future. Hopefully they don't like change my skilling methods in the chambers itself. Like the fishing and cooking is pretty dead content inside chambers. Like I get that, but it's not really a nuisance for normal raiders to deal with. So hopefully they don't change anything there. That's just my take on it. Something that they could change. I'm hoping that version 2 of Forestry will be a good thing. I feel like they have a tendency when an update first comes out not to initially like adjust things that need adjusting right away,
Mm-hmm.
which that's probably the best time for them to adjust things. Like players are doing a lot of work for them and finding like obscurities and XP rates for things and finding like things for them to patch, glitches or things that don't work right. And they kind of disregard that at first, I feel, some of the times. Maybe they'll be like a week late or a couple of weeks late on stuff. But yeah, there's certain content that they're like a few years late on, which kind of makes me not feel all too good. But sometimes they talk about revisiting things. There's definitely some like patches of content, um, maybe parts of quests that they could update a little bit because it's faulty or doesn't work right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, nothing like particular I'm thinking about. I know that with sailing, I think that they're trying to change some content, maybe a couple quests, so that like it seems like sailing always belonged. Maybe they'll go back at the same time to change some quirky things that don't work all too well. But ultimately, like the really old quests that are like nostalgic, they probably shouldn't change that. There's a few things that are a little quirky that aspect, like Legends quests, where like it takes forever to get like through the obstacles because of like dialogue they have to get through or like how long animations take. It's kind of like just a sign of the times. Like that was the best that they were able to do
Mm-hmm.
in that period of time as far as like questing. So I think that's something they probably shouldn't change, even though it's not quite working right. But any quest that they made since Old School's creation, if that doesn't completely work right, like it should work right, since they had like they've had the ability to make things work better since then. So
I'm looking at you, Bon Voyage.
yeah, like the way of traveling in that quest is terrible. When they first talked about sailing, a lot of people were probably thinking that might be the way that they're gonna have you travel. Um,
That would be
gladly,
miserable.
glad that they decided not to. Yeah.
So now let's get into the whale of the topic that is, of course, the new skill.
Yeah.
So the initial pitch of our new skills were taming, shamanism, and sailing. Of those three, which one were you personally most excited for or wanted to see the most?
Yeah. So I've been wanting sailing in the game since it was first like teased in RS2. So I've been sailing, team sailing all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's yeah, since my childhood, it seemed like they're gonna put that in. I've been looking forward to it. Sailing's obviously like an exploration type deal, and that's something I think would be fun. I wasn't initially all that excited for a new skill. If they were to not put in a new skill, I'd probably be just as happy. But overall, it's probably best for the game in the long run for them to have like a skill every few years. Hopefully, like not too often, but
I mean,
every
yeah,
3 to 5 years, I'd be okay with. Like why
definitely.
not?
By the time sailing comes out, it'll be like 11 years of this game being around. So I think like
Mhm.
that's a pretty good timeline to believe, hey, I think now might be the time. I think the initial pitches, like the first time they ever pitched sailing, and then when they pitched artisan, I don't think those were the right times. I don't think the dev teams had the correct resources to really get everything right. I think now they have
Exactly.
so much time under their belt that I have, you know, of course there are things that they have messed up, but I have faith that they're gonna bring out a pretty decent thing in the beginning, and it can only get better as time has gone on, as we've seen with so many updates, right?
Yeah, I feel like things go wrong. They'll hopefully have the team to fix stuff. Initially, it's their biggest project that they've done in several years. So, and it affects like the entire game. That's kind of why I like sailing as well, is because it doesn't really. I don't think it's gonna really affect many other skills in the game. And it doesn't really bring much power creep. It just offers new expansion to areas and more like things to do that might not feel like skilling, or it might not, it's not PVM wise either. It's not going to have as much of a skill gap as a lot of things in games. So kind of, I feel like it'll be good for all players too.
And you don't want sailing to bring in,
Um,
like,
There's not too much that I would be opposed to with sailing. There's been a lot of ideas of like multi-skill training with sailing,
yeah,
as long as it doesn't like affect the metas. So I know like the EHP wise, it can be too OP to have like two really good skilling methods in one, like the drift net fishing type deal kind of
yes,
thing.
absolutely.
But yeah, it's good to have. It's a good feeling like training two skills at once too. Maybe it's a skill that you don't like one of them, and kind of makes it feel more passive XP in that skill. So could be good. The PvP thing that a lot of people are talking about, I think it'd be really cool. I don't think that they're going to put it in initially with the skill. Probably come in later, but could be fun. And I'm kind of interested on how that'll work for Iron Man as well. But I guess we'll see. Um, yeah, they have a good chance to kind of revive some PvP stuff with that. Um, what else was in that question? Was there
Oh,
more to it?
no, I think that was it.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if they do like any big um like PvP thing where like you can challenge other players, and instead of like actually killing you, maybe it like you can like loot some things off their ship for yourself, or Like I don't know if I would like to see like a dedicated ship PvP would be cool, but I would like to see like more like a plundering type thing
Hmm.
in a sense.
Yeah, maybe if they had like a good system of putting like fair fights together, or like opt in to fight somebody, might be a good idea. That's kind of some of the things that people don't like about PvP in RuneScape currently is the fact that you like feel like you have to go to the wilderness for certain things, and people will BK you without you really wanting to be attacked. Um, Maybe they'll do that for the PvP. Like maybe there's benefit to having like a high ranking in this PvP system, or you're battling not over each other's stuff, but maybe you're battling over like a prize. Whoever wins it gets to loot a certain ship or area or something.
Yeah,
Um,
like you both come across a shipwreck or an uncharted island, and like
yeah, you have to fight for those resources or something.
yeah,
That would be
exactly.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for that. If they want to do it like not opt-in PvP, then I mean, if it works out well, then it works, you know. But yeah, I'm excited for what they have to offer, and I think even if it maybe doesn't work out at first, they'll find a way to fix it and make it better, or get more community feedback in that aspect as well.
Oh, Jagex, you always find a way.
They really do, but kind of expected, unfortunately. There'll be some sort of problem, but I'm sure they'll fix it. Especially with all the engine work that will come in with sailing, there'll be some quirky things on day of release. But you know,
Absolutely.
hopefully it's more funny and less game breaking.
Yeah, I don't want to see like a 2 million an hour sailing XP bug right away. That would be very nerve wracking.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of want to go for like top page sailing when it comes out too. So I hope there's nothing that they have to roll back right away too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, kind of a sidebar here, a little off topic, but speaking of Jagex finding a way, what is your thought about them kind of constantly trying to repull and, for I guess lack of a better term, like shove everything they want down our throats until we say yes? Like my biggest example there is like some of the PvP items, like with Vestas and Stadius and stuff. Like that failed to pull many times, and then eventually they got it in there.
Hmm.
So, so
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
one. That's
It's
just one example, I guess. But there's probably more big ones out there too.
well, the good thing about that is every time that they come through with it, they have to pitch it in a different way, and sometimes they end up striking like um, a good way of doing stuff. I think with like Bounty Hunter and having the PvP weapons in there is a good thing for it. The bad thing about it is they can't use it outside of it, so you're doing that content to buy things that you can only use for that content is kind of a little bit bad. But you know, maybe if they have specific worlds where you can use the PvP items like and other things, or maybe you can use them for other mini games, maybe it'd be a good thing for Soul Wars or Castle Wars if you can use those items. You make those content that content like a bit more fun. Uh, but yeah, the other things that they've pulled a lot, like the divine and stuff, they just need to stop. If we say no a certain amount of times, like it's probably just not going to come into the game, and that's okay. They can always think of different things. There's plenty of like OP stuff that they'll put into the game in the future through polls, I'm sure. But you know, um,
You're talking about the
yeah,
Divine Spirit Shield?
yeah, they pulled that. I think 2 or 3 times now.
Oh, really? I didn't know they pulled it. I don't know they pulled it a second or third time.
Yeah, at least twice, pretty sure. So yeah, that failed. I think it got pretty close, but um, it's not like any more overpowered than some of the things that we already have in the game.
Yeah.
But it would be like a lot different than when it was in RS2. We didn't really know how to like shield flick and stuff like that. Like imagine that at Armadillo when you have like a shadow
Oh
and
my
then you're
god.
shield flicking in between. That sounds like it'd be pretty overpowered. But yeah, it's not necessarily needed. I think Corpse got like its own kind of niche. I mean, maybe they could do better with Corp to make it more worth going for. I feel like most people, most mains just go for the pet. Most irons will go for just the arcane or just try and get the shields after they've completed like literally everything else because they're not all that important.
Yeah, it's very defenderscape. Like once you have a Vernic, it's not really worth going for anything else. And
Yeah.
then once you have Tebow and Shadow, they're both two-handed weapons, so
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly. I kind of like that the best, most overpowered weapons in the games are all two-handed weapons, all three of them. But yeah, maybe they'll find more options that are like one-handed weapons where like an alley or spectral or arcane would be more useful with.
Something where it has like decent tank mechanics and like you actually have to like you can't just out DPS something. You like have to block
Mm.
things.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been talking about why they don't like add tank specific roles to certain bosses if they're like team based bosses. Like think about Theory of Blood, like there's specific roles in Theory of Blood. Your South Major, North Major, melee DPS, range DPS. If they had like options for someone to specifically want to bring a tank shield like an ally into the raid to make it easier, or just help out the team in a certain way, I think that'd be pretty cool. So
Oh,
maybe they'll
definitely.
add something like that in the future.
So now let's hop back on our ship and
Mhm.
kind of go back over a few more small things in sailing. And one big thing I wanted to ask about sailing was how would you like to see it like trained? Like what kind of XP an hour do you want to see? Like are we talking like would you like to see like a Slayer agility style where
You cut out there a little bit.
oh
Um,
sorry basically until you get to like decently higher levels it's like pretty slow, or would you like to see something that's more of like akin to like a fire making where it's always just kind of fast?
yeah, so I think the team's already said a little bit about that they want it like in between, um, like the fastest and the slowest skills, so it'd be kind of like right in the center there, which I think is probably the best place for it. Um, And yeah, I think it'd be good if they start out with like some methods that might not take that much effort for a little bit of XP, like maybe a couple mid-tier methods that make you good money, not the best XP and not like the most AFK thing, and then like something that's high intensity, high XP, like a few different ways to train it right at the beginning. Beginning would be pretty neat as well. I'm kind of like an AFK gamer every now and then. Like if I feel like playing, I'll do the intense method, but I'll want something to do to get like a small amount of XP while I'm
Mm-hmm.
um, working on other things or cleaning up around the house or something. You can just throw your account on something to get some sort of XP. Um, I enjoy that as well. So as long as they have a good ratio of things to do when it first comes out, that'd be nice.
Definitely. And is there any like type of expansions in certain parts of the world you want to see? Like, I guess like Mauritania is not really covered by water anywhere, so would you like to see them like bring more water into that landmass so we can travel there? Or obviously you got Port Phasmatis, but that's pretty much it, I think. No, I guess you got the south of Bergerac too. Maybe I'm just being delusional at this point.
Yeah, I think there's like oceans most places. I'm not sure if you're gonna be like to go up and down a river. Not too sure about that. Maybe that might be cool. Um, I think that there's a lot that they could do as far as expanding. into oceans, they can make like a small chunk of water seem like a bigger chunk of water once you get like actually into a boat, I'd assume. Um, and maybe that's the way that they'll go about doing it. Definitely want to be like able to see other players sailing as well. I think that would be um, cool, just as an MMO to see other players doing stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe not
definitely.
like crowding if it's like a crowded area or a specific activity, a quest or something, then they might have to put like an instance in. But I feel like it'd be cool if you're just like exploring to be able to see other players and maybe if they're on the shoreline, I think that they want you'd be able to see players that way. Explore like near other places. Obviously, I think the ocean will be different around Mauritania compared to like around the desert ocean, around like the wilderness ocean. Like you're gonna have a different feeling for where you are. Maybe different creatures that are gonna pop up. Maybe specific pirate ships or something
Hmm.
um, out in certain waters where you can kind of expect that thing or that sort of ship in that area. Different themes. Uh, that sort of stuff makes sense to me anyway.
Yeah, just like you don't see, rune rocks everywhere, right? So, there's gonna be
Mhm.
probably specific locations where you're gonna see specific like nodes for different of the new like gems or the new woods or whatever that may be.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about like different islands and areas that they're going to come up with that probably require a sailing level to get to.
Hmm.
They could put like anything over there and lock certain things behind a sailing level. Maybe not abuse that mechanic too much, but a certain amount of that I think would be a good thing.
Absolutely. So I wanna kind of look back at you and what you are doing. Not just right now, but we kind of talked about what you're looking forward to in the future, some goals. I know you're working on the 1,000 hard clues on the main. What is the like short term main goal for the chunk account that you're looking at?
Yeah, so there'll probably be a video coming out soon, so I could probably talk a bit about it now because
This
I don't
this
think
actually
it'll
won't come
spoil
out.
for too many people.
I say this won't come out till the 8th. So if it's gonna come out before the
Oh
8th,
yeah,
then you're good.
yeah, it probably will. So I mean, I could talk about it. Um, Either way, so working on base 75s and the melees. Um, I've gotten to 50 range, killing a lot of trolls. And yeah, that's just kind of like the first part of getting ready for CMs. I think base 75 stats will be enough to do the bare minimum in the raid. 50 range is what I need for the MSB. And yeah, fletching's the longest grind. So working on that periodically. And what else? We got our prayer up. Before I wanted to actually train melee, I wanted at least 43 prayer because I can prayer flick the trolls a lot easier. They hit hard,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I had lower defense. So prayer flicking helped a lot. I don't have much food in the chunk either, so um, solving the food issue with prayer is also a good thing. Um, Other than that, I want to get 90 Hunter for the best bats inside the raid. CMs, it's more beneficial to do Hunter instead of fishing for your food.
Mm-hmm.
So the Hunter is more important. But I also need 90 cooking. And for some reason, cooking's like less XP in the raid than fishing or Hunter. So cooking, I might have to do some extra fishing to like get more levels there too. So yeah, working on those. So I'll have the best food in the raid. I'll have MSB at least for ranged. I have basically my best melee armor until I get raid items. Rune sim. Magic will be like fires or not fire spells, earth spells because I'm saving my fire runes. Magic doesn't matter too much though. And yeah, at that point, I'll feel comfortable like actually grinding the raids, and then we can um, get those passive upgrades. I was conflicted doing mega skills before CMs, but I
Hmm.
think it'll be more fun to like have really bad gear when we first start out. Then every purple will feel like a big upgrade. That way, I think it'd be a bit more fun. And then after we finish the 2K CMs, hopefully they have the chambers um, update where you can scout or buy a scout. That'll make it easier to do mega scales as well. And then also the scaling as well. I believe you'll be able to pay for adding um, a bigger scale to your raid, which is important as well. Like it's pretty expensive right now. You have to pay 500k per scale. And I'm doing 1+22s. I might be able to get like 10 friends to help me scale, but other than that, I have to pay for it. And I'm not all that rich on my main, so rather that wait a while as well. But yeah, I think after the 2K CMs, we'll have a few purples already, and then we can just grind for the rest of them with the mega skills.
Fantastic. Sounds like you've kind of got a big plan going forward.
Yeah, I do a lot of thinking about this stuff. Yeah, the plan always shifts, but yeah, I think I have a pretty good idea right now about what's possible.
So with you being able to spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff, what is your real life balance that you try and strive for? Whether it be personal relationships, work, gaming, obviously, maintaining a sleep schedule. Like what's your balance look like to keep a healthy schedule for yourself and to avoid any type of neglecting any like responsibilities in your end?
Yeah, so I feel like I've got a pretty good balance. I take my sleep very seriously. I'll get like at least 8 hours a night, no matter what. I have a pretty good sleep schedule. I think that's important. Um, I eat pretty well. I cook my meals most of the time and don't eat out too often. I, yeah, I go to the gym a few times a week. That's one of my hobbies as well, is lifting weights. So that calms me and makes sure I get out. But other than that, I have some friends I hang out with at least once a week, and yeah, I take walks even in the winter. Do whatever I can to get outside for a bit. I enjoy like skiing and hiking, stuff like that. There's plenty of that to do here in Maine too, so gotta enjoy the area. And yeah, whenever I'm doing chores and stuff, I'll try to AFK something and be productive. I like to watch like documentaries and stuff to learn more while I can listen to podcasts that I'll benefit from, and should try to keep like the mind in a good spot. So you can get real caught up just watching only RuneScape stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to balance it out a bit.
Is there any kind of topics that have really piqued your interest recently that you've been like really into?
I'm a pretty big history buff, so um, just history in general, world wars and I like American history and stuff like that is a big interest of mine. Anything in the health space, I'm pretty big on. There's always things changing in that aspect too. Um, I wanted to be a personal trainer at one point, so learning about like new exercises and making sure like form is good for everything is always been an interest of mine.
Have you ever listened to revisionist history?
No, I haven't.
It's
Is
a
that a
pod.
podcast?
Yep, fantastic podcast. A long time ago, they released like an 8-part series on the reign of Genghis Khan and the Moguls and all this. It was and then like how they ruled the step, and it was like an incredible like 8-hour listen.
Well, where can you find that?
I think they have everything on Apple Podcasts or like Spotify, but I think they also have a website because like after a while, sometimes they take down some of their older episodes and they have them
Mhm.
only for like paid. And I think that one is old enough where it's only paid now, unfortunately. But they're always putting out, or I don't know if they're still very active. I haven't listened to that specific show in a while, but they've done a lot of really good series and all that stuff on just history and tons of different like really relevant history
Mm.
that's really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm always interested in finding um, more things. It's good to be like broad when you're checking out different content too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, have a lot of differing opinions on things. But yeah, I'll definitely check that out for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I know myself, like when I am grinding or at work and I got 20 minutes to kind of watching a YouTube video, I like to watch a lot of those long form video game retrospectives.
Mm.
That's like some of my favorite stuff to watch, just like somebody talking about Fable 2 for 6 hours on why it was a mediocre game or why it was
Mhm.
amazing, however, whatever perspective they have on it.
Yeah, I feel you there. I don't watch too many things about other games. I actually don't play any other games besides RuneScape. In the past, I might have played like Call of Duty or a few other games on the side, but it's pretty much always been RuneScape. But I will click on an interesting, like funny video on certain games from some of the bigger YouTubers if it does pop into my feed. Um, but yeah, other than that, I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to other video games.
Hey, that's fair. Some people are just, just scapers, that's it.
Hmm.
I'm a huge like I play like other games. Like when the new Legend of Zelda came out, I stopped RuneScape for like 3 weeks to play that. I've been really itching to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I told myself I would finish 200 mil fire making first. I'm not gonna buy it because I know that's gonna be like a month or two of my life just in that one game. So
Yeah, I feel like RuneScape's unique that way that you're never gonna finish what you're doing, but other games like they have a definitive ending and you can enjoy it until the ending and then like come back to RuneScape because it's always here. It's always got a new goal for you. But yeah, that's a probably a good thing to kind of try out different things. But yeah, if I'm not doing RuneScape, I feel like I should be doing something IRL.
yeah, that's absolutely fair as well.
Mhm.
So we're getting kind of near the end. I'm getting close to my final like topic question for you. So,
Mhm.
but before I dive into that, do you have any questions you wanted to ask me, or any broad questions you wanted to talk about at all?
Um, what got you into podcasting first? That's something I'm interested in hearing about with other people's podcast stories. So figured I'd
I
ask you.
I have always listened to them for since as long as I can remember, like since probably um 2015, 2016ish.
Mhm.
And I have kept up with a couple different podcasts in that time frame. Most notably, My Brother and Me, which is a comedy advice podcast. That tends to not really be great advice, but it's I really enjoy listening to it. And then another podcast from the same group of people, called The Adventure Zone, where they do like D&D campaigns, and I've listened to their first arc in their D&D campaign. Probably I'm on my third listen through right now, while also listening to like their most new one.
Mhm.
So I've just always been a fan of like an audio only format and what kind of like stories you can tell with it or what kind of information you can get from just audio only. Of course, with the cast I do record video for that, but that is just, because it's going on YouTube, so it has something behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people do like just skilling in the background, if anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Most
And
people just listen. Definitely.
absolutely. And I think the big thing that got me into it was I listened to like the Sebe cast, or I listened to like some of the other RuneScape podcasts that have popped up here and there. And a lot of them have been with exclusively content creators or
Mhm.
like exclusively one style of person. And
Yeah.
there was a bunch of people I'd always wanted to like hear a cast from or talk to, like when I talked to Lydia Kenny, who at the time was the rank 2 hardcore.
Mhm.
So it was like I wanted different perspectives of like people that you probably weren't going to hear on some of the bigger casts, not because they're not big enough, but because like there's always people that they're talking to, they have like schedules. So,
Yeah.
and I figured, there was this kind of niche space open for casts with like, because my channel isn't very big at all. I have like 300 and something subscribers, which is like, nothing to scoff at. 300 people, plus people, like they see my video in a box and they watch it. And these casts,
With those
obviously,
people in a room, then it looks like a lot of people for sure.
exactly. So I'll never scoff at, even 100 views on a video, because it's 100 individual people who chose to watch the video.
Yeah.
And so I just saw a space that I could potentially fill,
Mhm.
and I have enjoyed it thoroughly the whole time. Of course, there have been like weeks where I like maybe didn't want to do it, and then I got into the conversation with the individual, and I'm like, this was so much fun. It was so worth it, and it very often is worth it. Whether I talk to somebody for 45 minutes or it's 2.5 hours, it's
Mhm.
for me, like not everybody has time for a 2 hour cast or plus. So it's always nice to have like some of the ones in my channel that are a little bit shorter or like more mid range, like the hour and a half mark. Because there are definitely people who only have an hour to sit and play RuneScape, and maybe they're doing something efficient and they don't want to do music. They want to listen to something, so now they have something that they can finish the whole time while they're doing that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people will probably pick a podcast depending on how long it is, just for the amount of time that they have, for sure. One other thing I wanted to ask is if you've ever streamed or thought about streaming.
I have a Twitch. I have streamed before, but um I'm still pretty much just fire making. So I don't know how many people want to watch me do Winter Todd for another 150 200 hours.
Yeah. Still though, like a lot of people will just watch you just because of the conversation. Not everybody looks for just what kind of content people are doing. So maybe you can think about it in the future. There's if you like talking and getting to know people, it's definitely a great platform. I've had a lot of fun streaming as little as I've really gotten around to it recently, but still, there's definitely some people in my community that I've gotten closer to just because of them hanging out in the streams, and I will start to hear a lot about their lives and stuff just from that.
Mhm. Yeah, I've definitely considered it more. My only thing is like I'm always watching something on the side.
Hmm.
So it's hard for me to want to stream because then I have to listen to like music. I can't like watch something on the side while I'm streaming with audio, and that's just kind of how I play the game. But you
Hmm.
know, there have been times where I'm just like chilling and I'm listening to music and playing the game, and I'm just like, well, maybe now I could stream. So maybe look out for it. Maybe it'll be coming in the future. Maybe I'll be doing some Winter Todd streams.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out for it.
Anything else you got for me? Any other hard hitting press questions?
Um, that's all I had planned to ask. But yeah, I think that's all I got to be honest.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm always excited when somebody comes on and they're like, when I get to this point, they're like, I do have a question I've wanted to ask the whole time.
Mm.
So I'm glad to always be able to give my own perspective on some things that people want to hear.
Mhm. Yeah, everybody's always in their own journey on RuneScape, so it's always
Exactly.
interesting to see where that goes. And always happy to talk to people about that. So
Exactly. And we play very different styles of the game. So
for sure, yeah. How many people have you had on the cast that aren't UIMs? Because I've seen a lot of UIMs on your channel.
I've had way more non UIMs than I have had UIMs at this point.
Oh yeah,
In the beginning, that was like mostly who I knew. So it was
yeah. I mean,
like,
UIMs are pretty tight knit community too. I know a lot of people who play that like will only join like an only UIM clan chat and stuff like that too. Definitely a different way of playing the game, and getting advice from UIMs is usually the best route when you're talking about specific content.
definitely. And I am like in my own clan right now, I am one of like the 3 or 4 Ultimate Iron Man in the entire clan.
Oh yeah.
And I am since one of the other guys left, I am like the highest ranked one in
Hmm.
regards to like level 3s. Because I think the other one that was a little bit higher than me, I think he left for a different clan fairly recently.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty interesting. There's a couple in my clan too who have UIMs, and yeah, sometimes they'll ask questions about like what to do in certain situations where like we have no idea. We don't know how it differs from UIM sometimes, but
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. I was always thinking if I ever made a UAM, I'd probably just max. I think that's because I'm such a hoarder that I if I accumulated gear, I would never want to get rid of any of it. So, uh,
Yeah, like you get a Sarachnis Culture, you're like, no, I gotta keep it forever.
yeah, that's how I am. If you ever look at any of my banks, there's always just like stuff that most players don't keep in their banks. I have to admit, definitely hoarding a lot of stuff.
And that's fair. Everybody plays differently. I'm a very like minimalist when it comes to like even stuff IRL. So for me, it's very easy to say
Mm.
like, I got 2 Torstals from that Wintertod crate. I don't care enough to go put them in my looting bag, so they're to the floor they go.
Yeah, that's tough for me for sure. And it is weird because I'm different in IRL. I will get rid of stuff that I haven't used for a while. Sometimes I'll even get rid of stuff that I might need in the future and regret throwing out. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
kind of a minimalist IRL, so it's kind of odd that I'm a hoarder in RuneScape. But I guess I get enough of it in RuneScape that I don't bring it into IRL.
yeah, definitely. So the finale question I have for you
Mhm.
is, where do you see yourself in RuneScape and in, I guess, like how actively you can play in like the near future, like a 2 to 5 year time span?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be a full-time content creator, and I'm gonna make that a reality. This year is my goal, so only working part-time other than content creating at the moment. So looking to make that a reality, and see, in game, I have a lot of big ideas for a video that aren't like specifically one of my series, so. I feel like some people will have to look forward to that. And with video editing and YouTube as a whole, maybe one day making non-RuneScape videos on the side as well as making RuneScape videos will be in my plans. So,
Awesome, like some
yeah.
real life content, maybe some skiing, hiking.
Yeah, maybe just some lifestyle stuff with yeah, skiing, hiking, traveling, health stuff, sort of thing. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Once I get better at editing too. There's more you can do with actual real life videos and stuff. So
Definitely.
yeah.
So I said that was my last question, but I totally forgot I had one right after sailing. I just spaced on asking, and that is Leagues 4.
Oh yeah.
Are you are
As
you are you planning on playing Leagues 4?
Yeah, I've played every league so far, at least for like the first week.
Same.
Um, I haven't really gone kind of deep into a league yet, but I do want to go deep into this league. I have a lot of AFK things that I can plan on doing on the other accounts. So, I think maybe a mini series for that on YouTube. So,
I've never
yeah.
made Leagues content, and I've been playing also Leagues 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
I am planning on doing a pretty fun video idea with Leagues 4.
Yeah, I think making a video with it too will help me keep focused on it as well. But yeah, I mean, you get so much done in like the first week of leagues that like after that it kind of seems to slow down. We'll see if they like fix any of that, but yeah, I'm hoping that I can stick to it and maybe put out 2 or 3 videos on it.
Looking forward to it.
And great concept as well. I know it's like the same premise of a league as the original Trailblazer, but I think that there's a lot more content in the game, and that there's a lot more different relics stuff that they can put
Plus, they're giving us
into
Zaya this time.
yeah, whole continent that they didn't have before, and then it's kind of like with the first league, you get that aspect again as well,
Mm-hmm.
and Chambers is there too, so my realm, my home.
Do you have any like plans already about what areas you might choose, or are you still kind of like you're gonna leave it up in the air until it gets closer to that time?
Yeah, I do have an idea. There's more areas this time. And I'm not sure if I believe you got to pick 3 extra areas last time.
I believe, yeah, and I believe
Which,
they're keeping it that way too.
oh yeah. So I picked Mauritania. Um, what else did I do? Mistlan's the first one, right?
Yep, you get Mistlan,
Um,
Karamja, and then you can choose from, I believe
yeah.
it's Wilderness, Mauritania, Fremennik, Asgarnia, Kandarin, Taranwin, Desert,
Oh
Zaya.
yeah. Yeah, those Asgarnian I chose last time as well. So Mauritania, Asgarnia. What was the other one? I can't even remember now. Probably Kandarin. But
Yeah.
yeah, I stopped after the first week, so um, yeah, I did some like TOB and had some fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this time I'm not exactly sure I'm gonna let you guys know now because I'm not sure it's set in stone. But yeah, I do kind of have an idea for what I'm gonna do, and I wasn't sure if they're gonna do 4 regions or 3 regions since they have more regions this time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, I've heard that they're splitting up Korend and Kevos. So if that's 2 different areas, then that might change a little bit of what I'm thinking. But
Ooh, yeah, that
I,
might change a little bit.
I think I will definitely pick Kevos and Chambers of Zarek to be um, one of my regions for this one. I think is the only thing I'll give away for now.
Fantastic. Gotta keep some things tight, you know? Can't give all the
Yeah,
secrets away.
exactly, exactly. I tend to really want to talk about things when I'm um, have something in my mind, so it's hard for me to keep secrets. But yeah, I'll try to keep some things under wraps at first for a little bit of surprise when it does happen.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you again, Tom, for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. It was great to be on. Thank you for having me.
And all of Tom's links, of course, will be in the description. So you can find his YouTube, his Twitch, his Twitter, whatever else he wants me to put there. Maybe he made a some other wild website. Maybe you made an Instagram Threads. Who wants you to follow too?
Yeah, follow my MySpace. Link in the description.
All right. Thank everybody for listening. If you made it this far, go ahead and leave some type of comment. Let me know what you guys thought. If you want to see who else you might want to see on the cast. And for obviously, I already said it, but my traditional Midwest goodbye, I got to say thank you again, Tom. It's been a pleasure talking the last hour and a half. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope everybody listening has a great rest of the day or evening, whatever time it is you are.